Okay, second lesson from judged to called. Called. So tell me, man, about the objective you had in mind for this lesson. Called.
Okay. Really, I just want us to realize that we are called to be co-workers with God to accomplish the mission that He has in mind for the earth, really, to expand His kingdom and bring people to salvation and transformation.
Right.
So God has equipped each believer within the body with particular spiritual gifts that help the church as a whole accomplish the Great Commission. It's important that we all bring our spiritual gifts to bear and help serve the church so that the church can accomplish the mission God has called us to, which is the Great Commission. So everybody's gift has a role to play in that, from musically gifted people who lead worship. They're leading people into the presence of God to be fulfilled and filled with His Spirit so that they can go out, and reach people for Christ. And that's really what this lesson is about. We're all called to it. There's not a person in the body who is not called to the ministry of the church, because we're all part of the church.
Right. But for me and you, not music for sure.
Yes, definitely not. We could try to do a hymn real quick, but I think people would turn the video off.
Yeah, let's not do that. But as you said, that your gifting help with your calling. So, or can you explain a little bit better or more about how gifting supports calling?
Right. God is not going to call you to something that He doesn't provide gifting to accomplish. So He's not going to ask you to do something that He's not going to equip you to do.
Right.
All right, and so really, the calling could look a little different. He made some to be apostles, some prophets, some evangelists, some pastors and teachers for the equipping of the saints for the work of the ministry.
Right.
So there are certain gifts in the body that are there and put into people to serve the body.
Right.
So that the body of Christ can now go and do the work of the ministry, which is the Great Commission. So some people are there to serve the church, okay, so that the church can go do the ministry. That's part of a pastor's role. I'm there to equip the saints in the congregation to go out and reach people for Christ.
Right.
Some people are called to that, and some people are called to be in the field, to lead small groups, to go and talk with people on the street, to build relationships. It's critical to build a relationship with somebody while you're ministering the gospel or before you minister the gospel. We call that pre-evangelism in certain circles.
Right.
You don't want to just announce the gospel or pronounce the gospel, on a soapbox in the middle of the street, although you could do that, and that would have an effect, I'm sure, on people. You want to build a relationship so that people will hear the message that you have to say. Right. We're called to be that for people. We are called to be relational, okay, and loving in that relationship. Get to know people. Ask them questions. Find out where their sore spots are, so that you can not offend them and try to help them work through those things. You don't want to bring the cross up and offend them so that they won't hear you, even though the cross can be an offense to people because it's counterintuitive. And,
Any way you put it, it's going to be an offense to some people.
Right, but you can help that along by building a relationship. And God has equipped people with spiritual gifts and just natural gifts. Certain personalities lend themselves to building relationships and ministering to people. Some people are there to clean the church up. We have a young lady in our church who cleans. I call her a young lady, and it's interesting. She's older than me, but I call her a young lady. But she does a great job cleaning. Our church would be filthy and kind of unwelcoming if she didn't do that job. She has an important role. We have a woman named Rita who passes out bulletins every week. She gives people a hug. She welcomes them as they come into the church. She has a critical role of hospitality. She's gifted. She's hospitable to make people feel welcome. We all have a role to play in the church for the greater purpose of ministry. And that's kind of what I'm getting at here in this lesson.
So you had a conclusion, which man, I just want you to restate that he has equipped you for what your calling for your calling.
He has equipped you for your calling
Right.
through your gifting,
Right.
your individualized gifting.
Right.
You have different gifts than me. I can't be Kirk and you can't be David, but that's good. Different isn't wrong, it's
Right.
just different. And it's necessary. And that's what he's getting at in 1 Corinthians 12. He's trying to really drive home to the Corinthian church that was fragmented and sort of at odds with each other now and then. And they had little factions and divisions in the church. And he tried to make it very plain in 1 Corinthians 12. He says that, but now God has set the members, each one of them, this is verse 18, in the body, just as he pleased. And if they were all one member, where would the body be? Meaning that we need different parts.
Right.
We can't all be the hand.
Right.
We can't all be the eyes or the nose or the mouth. We all have a different part. But he made it very clear as you read on in that chapter that each part is necessary and each part is important. You know, each part, there's no differentiation between gifting. They're all necessary. And he even makes it very clear and says, some members seem to be less honorable, but on these we bestow greater honor. They're not less honorable, even if they seem to be less honorable. They're not less important, he's saying. They're critical. They're necessary. And so we need to understand that and work together to reach the world for Christ. And that's what I'm getting at here. God is not leaving you stranded. He's gifted you to be able to do what He's called you to do.
Okay.
So you don't need to worry.
Okay.
Have confidence in that.
So who is the audience for this lesson? So are you saying that when we meet people that we should help them to sense their calling, or is this for the church to kind of
This is for the church.
for us to organize ourselves to say, okay, we know we're called, and know.
This is for the church, Kirk. These lessons are for our church so that we can understand and start to formulate plans to reach people and value one another and understand that the calling isn't too tall and too high of a calling that we can't reach. It's not so far-fetched and God has not left us to where we can't accomplish the mission. We definitely can do this. And what I'm trying to get across is that we can do it because He's gifted us to be able to do it. He hasn't called us to something we can't accomplish. So this is for us so that we can reach them. The audience is not the them, it's the us.
Okay.
So that we can be more focused and more confident about reaching the them,
Okay.
for lack of better words.
And so the first one again with Judge, that was also for us.
That was also for us, but we have to keep that in mind when we're dealing others. Just like we have to keep this in mind when we're discipling somebody. We're going to start to realize and identify their gifts. We're going to talk about that in a later lesson. And we need to champion those gifts and promote those gifts and try to help them build their gifts and give them a job to do in the church and sort of give them a platform so that they can minister from that platform to other people in the church. God places the gifts in each of us for each of us. And so they don't just belong to you or me, they belong to one another. So we need to serve with those gifts. And we want to help new people that are coming in understand that they have a role too. And they have special gifting as well.
Okay. So it's very, very, very important that we realize that we have a calling. It may not, it can't be too high, right? Because God is going to supply us the gifting to meet it.
People work really hard to make these videos possible. And so I'm going to ask you to give. We need donations to keep these things going. They're great helps for the Sabbath School Quarterlies, and as a 21st century vibrant church, we need to have videos. We need to be online. We need to reach people that way because we're in a technological age. And this is how you meet the needs of the people, doing things like this. So I am going to ask, even though I'm not governing over this and not a manager or anything, I'm just one of the grunts. I know how much this cost, and I encourage you to find some way to contribute, some kind of contribution, some kind of donation. It will really go a long way.